Gathering here, the way we eat is the most important step to protect our kidneys. And when it comes to the renal diet, everyone goes out of their way to eat as little potassium as possible. They are told to avoid fruit and vegetables, bananas, tomatoes, avocados. You know the drill. Today, science says that this is not really going to help. What we should do instead is focusing on limiting a completely different mineral. A mineral way more dangerous for the kidneys than potassium. A common condiment that we eat every day, usually in excess, and that can directly damage the kidneys. That also causes proteinuria, that damages the heart, that can cause fluid retention and swelling, and that shortens our lifespan. Yes, I'm talking about sodium or table salt. What they don't tell you about potassium is that the more you cut down on potassium, the more you need to cut down on salt. You see, one of the main jobs of the kidney is to balance sodium and potassium. If your diet is not balanced, your kidneys are going to suffer. They are going to be damaged faster, and this is not an easy task as it may seem. Food brands are putting more and more sodium in everything, putting you at risk. And guys, just like for potassium, the guideline for sodium changed. So today we are going to see what you must know about the dangers of this mineral. We will also see how to avoid falling for marketing traps that can put your kidneys in danger. Last, we are going to see the best ways to replace salt and make your meals taste even better, including something you probably have never seen mentioned before. Let's start immediately. First, what's new about sodium management in CKD? Well, there was an earthquake recently in the world of kidney disease about, potassium, phosphorus, protein. Nothing really changed about sodium intake. Today, people with kidney disease are still recommended to have a sodium intake of less than 2300 milligrams per day. This roughly translates into about 5,000 milligrams of sodium chloride or table salt. So, like it was before, you are supposed to have less than a teaspoon of table salt per day. Now guys, when it comes to limiting salt intake, keeping the salt shaker off the table is not as important as reading labels. We will see why in a moment. Before that, let's see briefly what are the benefits of a low sodium way of eating. First of all, a low sodium diet is a tool to delay end-stage renal disease. This is obviously the most important benefit. High sodium intake can cause problems such as high blood pressure and fluid retention, as I was saying, and this causes kidney damage because it increases the workload on the kidneys. So consuming less sodium can definitely reduce the workload on the kidneys and can help slow the progression of the disease. And then there is proteinuria. Studies also link a low sodium diet with reduced proteinuria, which is actually great because proteinuria is the biggest predictor of kidney function decline, even more than GFR. So yeah, no doubt that you need to limit your sodium intake even more than potassium. But as I was saying, this may be harder than many people realize. What makes it so hard to limit sodium intake? Now guys, I'm currently on a diet, and while I use an app to track my macros, I'm also reading a ton of food labels. And every time I'm baffled by the sheer amount of sodium and sugar food brands manage to put even in the most innocent food items. You see, about 80% of the salt we ingest every day comes from processed foods and not from the salt shaker. This is why our enemy here is marketing. Fact. According to a recent statistic, over half of snacks that are sold as healthy are too high in fat, salt and sugar. Yes, it's very easy to get fooled by the marketing departments. It's basically their job. What are the worst foods when it comes to hidden sodium? Vegetable juice. They tell you that drinking vegetable juice is a simple way to get your veggies. Reality is that you will be mostly drinking a lot of sodium. An 8-ounce or 240 milliliter serving of vegetable juice may have 405 milligrams of sodium. Way too much for a single serving. And also avoid salad dressing. In a review of major brand name foods sold in US stores, salad dressing averaged 304 milligrams of sodium per 2 tablespoons or 28 grams serving. Additionally, many brands also were found using dangerous additives. Don't ruin your salad. And also be careful with canned vegetables. Canned vegetables tend to be higher in sodium since salt is often used as a preservative. For example, a half cup serving of canned peas has around 310 milligrams of sodium. The veggies may still be healthy though, but be sure to rinse them very well. Alternatively, opt for frozen vegetables or obviously for fresh ones. Always avoid sandwiches, one of the worst offenders. Considering the bread, cured meats, processed cheese, and condiments, one single sandwich can easily surpass 1500 milligrams of sodium. Even eating one of these once in a while will be a bad mistake for someone with kidney problems. And excessive sodium is in many canned, packaged fast foods, condiments, seasonings, and meats. For example, cured meats and cold cuts are often loaded with salt. Other dangerous foods include fast foods, bacon, and processed meats, shortenings, but also many snacks. Some of these foods contain more than 1500 milligrams of sodium per portion. This is why for most people, excess salt is usually not coming from the salt shaker, but from the foods you see in this slide. Now guys, it's important to remember that you don't need to eat tasteless foods. We will see what you can use as a replacement for table salt in a moment. Before that, there is one more tip to reduce sodium intake that not many people know about, and that can be crucial for you. And also be careful with your sodium bicarbonate intake. I know that for many kidney disease sufferers, sodium bicarbonate is a lifesaver. I have no doubt about it. It can protect your kidneys from metabolic acidosis, a dangerous cause of kidney damage. But don't overdo the sodium bicarbonate either because it contains sodium. Always test it for your CO2 levels and that your nephrologist is adjusting your sodium bicarbonate intake to match your exact need. And you may be interested in knowing that there may be a sodium-free alternative to sodium bicarbonate today. And I've talked more in depth about this in my video up here and also down in the description. Watch it now, or even better, save it for later, because this is going to be interesting. What can you use to replace table salt and still make your foods taste great? Well, obviously, the first answer is spices. But there is also an alternative today that many kidney disease sufferers should probably consider. This is potassium chloride, sold as Nu-Salt or NoSalt. Now, while this may have benefits, it is potassium we are talking about. And even if I always tell you to consult your nephrologist before taking anything, in this case, I want to reiterate this warning. As you probably already know, having too high serum potassium is dangerous. So, why would I recommend even considering a potassium-based salt alternative? Because you see, only 20% of kidney disease sufferers actually need to limit potassium. For the rest, this could be very beneficial, especially because about 1 in 5 CKD sufferers has too low potassium levels. But please make sure your potassium levels are in the range before even thinking about this. Okay? So what about Nu-Salt or NoSalt? Are they healthy? Well, these table salt alternatives are made from potassium chloride. I often use potassium salts just like regular table salt, and it tastes just like salt for me. But other people say that it tastes a bit bitter, so your mileage may vary. Now, potassium chloride is a naturally occurring salt derived from the ground or sea. It's a potassium-based salt. It contains no sodium, but it's all potassium. And guys, this may be very beneficial for people with low potassium levels. You see, having too low potassium levels damage the kidneys. It forces them to excrete even more sodium from the body, putting the kidneys under even more load. Keep in mind that you should consult your nephrologist before even thinking about using this, alright? Now, if you want to learn more about what makes keeping potassium levels in the right range so beneficial, this video up here is for you. And this is all for today. Thank you for watching. God bless you all.